Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. This is Lawyer Tina. We are learning about the laws of Ghana here in English and Twi languages. And so if you are new here, hey, you're welcome. And there are a lot of videos that I have made so far, about 19 or 18 of them. Please look through the videos I have posted. You find one on custody, access of children, sharing the properties of someone who died without making a will. And then you can find how to make a will, the do's and don'ts in it, and a few other things. Please check through the page, and I'm hoping that you find something that will be useful to you. Today we are going to talk about letters of administration. How can you apply for letters of administration? What is letters of administration? Or what we call the LA? What do you need to get the LA? Who can apply for it? If you apply for LA and you get it, what does that mean? What is the responsibility on you? And all of those questions that may come with it. We also ask that if someone goes for LA and then you are not notified, what do you do? What can you do? So let's just get straight into the video. So the first thing that we'll talk about is what is an LA, or letters of administration. Letters of administration is basically a certificate or a document which says that this person and that person have been appointed by the court to administer the estate of someone, or to take charge of the estate of a dead person. Their role is basically to make sure that properties of the person who is dead are shared in accordance with the law, pay his debts. Now that we know what an LA is, who and who can apply? And where can you apply it? The law says that if someone dies, the person's spouse, a husband or a wife, children, parents, or customary successor can apply for LA. Only 4 people can apply at a time. It means if you have 20 children or 10 children and 2 wives, we need 4 people. The law says we have a priority list: the wife or the spouse, the children, then the parents before the customary successor. Either of these people can apply, but the priority list is very important. You cannot apply without notifying the spouse or the children or the parent if you are the customary successor. The wife is number 1. She has a first right of applying, or the spouse. Then the children are the second. Then the parents. Then the least or the last is the customary successor. So it means that 1 spouse, 2 children can apply, 3 of them. 1 spouse, 3 children, 4 of them can apply, or 1 person can apply. Usually when you're applying, you apply in the court which is closer to the place where the dead person lived before he died. So the district court or the high court, or whether you go to the district court or the high court or the circuit court, will be dependent on whether the value of the estate. So I'm sure we'll talk about that another time. So what do you need to apply? The law says that you need to prove that the person is dead. And so you either need a death certificate, a burial permit, an obituary, or something that can prove that the person is dead. Then you will need to prove that you people who are applying are actually people who are either spouse or children or parents or customary successors. If you are the spouse and you're applying, usually by way of practice, we'll have the family head saying that, oh, we approve that these people should apply to the court for the LA. That is it. And then you also need a list of the properties that the person left behind. So let's say the person died leaving a house at maybe Kwabinya. The law says that when you state the house, state the value of the house. Yes, the value. So let's say if you are selling that house, how much are you going to sell it for? If it is 10,000, state it there. If the person left a bank account, maybe a bank account has said this bank, the bank, you have to state the amount. It is usually not easy to get the amount, but then you can state that this account is here. Then the court can even write to the bank to get you how much is in the bank, so that the court can be sure. Or the court can grant you the early, then later, because of the power that you have as a administrator, you can write to the bank. Then they will tell you how much is in the account. Why are you stating the value? The reason why you are stating the value is to help the court to ascertain how much tax that you are paying on the estate. Yes. So ordinarily you pay about 3% of the value of the estate that you are coming to administer. So maybe the person left just 500 cedis in a mobile money account. Yes, you need an LA to go and get it if you don't have the PIN of the person. Yes, you need an LA. And so you say that the value of all the things that the man left is 500 cedis. The court will calculate 3% of that 500 cedis. You pay that to the government as tax on the estate of the deceased person. If the person left household items, the personal effects of the person, the things that the person was wearing and all of that, you have to state that and state the value as well. Yes. Now, after stating all of this, it is in a document form. If you go to any court near you, a district court, you can get a registrar there to assist you. You can also go and see a lawyer. The best shot is to go and see a lawyer so that the lawyer will actually help you and guide you, and they prepare the documents for you. Then you go to court. It is that your lawyer will go to court, or if it is a registrar who prepared it for you, the registrar will give it to you to go to court. When you go to court, you also have to attach your identity so that the court will know who is this and who is talking and who is applying for the LA. When you apply for the LA, the court will ask a lot of questions to make sure that you are actually who you think you are or who you say you are. The court will make sure that you are actually someone who is entitled to bring the application. The court will have to make their own inquiries. Now, if the court is satisfied that you are someone who is supposed to get the early, the court will grant you the application. When the application is granted, the court will give a number of days within which the LA should be posted. The notice will be posted at the last place of abode of the dead person, on the court's notice board, or in an area within the vicinity where the person lives, so that if anyone has an interest in the estate, the person will see it and come to the court in case they have a problem. So in case someone has applied for LA and you've seen a notice, usually it is titled Notice of Next of Kin. You see that notice behind the building or whatever, and you are someone who has an interest in that estate. Maybe you are someone who is a child, you have some benefits in the estate. You can go to the court and say that you were not notified. And so you want to make sure that you are notified. There's something that you file, we call it a caveat. You file that caveat in the registry of the court, so that the caveat will be served on the people who are applying for the LA. That, hey, there is this particular person who is saying that he's the so and so child or customary successor or parent of the deceased person. He said he has a benefit in the estate, and so please, the court should not grant the LA. That caveat is something that will stop the court from granting you the LA until the confusion is cleared. Let me say it like that. So how do we clear the confusion? The registrar will write to the person who actually applied the caveat and tell the person that, you know, within this number of days, bring a document to us stating why you think we shouldn't grant the LA. If you bring that document, then we will serve it on the people who applied for the LA. Then you'll be invited to the court, and the court will determine whether or not they should grant the LA to both of you or to the person who applied, or that your case is no case at all, so the people who apply can get the LA. Now, please take note. If someone gets an LA, it does not mean that the person has title to the properties or the person is entitled to all the properties. No, that is, if you have the LA, the duty on you is that you make sure that you pay the debts, the just debt of the person who is dead, and then you make sure that they share the properties in accordance with law, so that the wife or the spouse will get hers, then the children will get their own, then the parents and then the family too will get their portion. If the person died living outside the country, the law says that you apply for the LA in a court which is closer to where one of the person's properties, maybe landed property, is situated. So if the person had the property at, say, Asinfosu, you will apply for the LA at the district court or the high court or the circuit court in Asinfosu, if any. Now, if a person had landed property or property in 10 regions or 10 towns, you can choose one of them and you apply the LA. But then while doing that, you have to state all the properties of the person. Please take notes. When you get the LA, you have to sit down. There's a responsibility on you by law that sit down and share the property in accordance with law. If you're the administrator and you have shared the property in accordance with law, then the law says that you are required to prepare what we call the vesting asset and say that, you know, this land or this house, we have given it to this woman. If you go and see a lawyer, it will be easy. They will do it for you. Please do the right thing so that the property will be given to who the law says should be given to. What happens if you share the estate of someone or the properties of someone who is dead without going to the court for early? The law says that it is a crime. It is called intermeddling. It means that instead of you to go to the court for the court to give you power to share the properties of a dead person, you went in your own way to sell it, to share it, or do anything which is contrary to law. And the law said that you can be fined or you can even be imprisoned for up to 2 years. Yes. I know there are a lot of questions, so please let me know what your questions are or answer them. Leave them in the comment box. Kindly share and enjoy and subscribe as well. Have a very, very, very good time. Bye.